Thank you very much, everybody, for joining today. This is a session that we're running on Viva Learning. We'll go straight on and start with the intros. I am Peter Vasey. I'm Head of Technical Services for Nasstar. And we are joined today by Kritzia, who is Senior Product Marketing Manager at Microsoft, and Jack Fisher, who is one of our M365 pre-sales consultants. The format of this is not just a show and tell. We would like it to be quite interactive with everybody on the call. So please, if you do have questions, throw them in. We will discuss them live as we go through the session. So we will start with a Viva overview. And this really is, I guess, just a very, very quick dip into the fact that Viva is something that is gaining quite a lot of traction within the marketplace, and there are various different models. There is Viva for Connections, which is really all about how you create cultures and improve communications within your organization. And we've done webinars on that, so we can provide links to previous recordings. Viva Insights, which is very much having a look at what is going on within your industry, within your organization, how people are working, how much time they're spending working, whether or not they're looking to towards burnout or that kind of thing. We have Viva Topics, which is yet to session on that is yet to be run, and that's bringing knowledge and information directly into line with your daily working routine. And then we have Viva Learning, which is all about skills and growth, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So if we go on to the learning piece that we're going to discuss now, we are all, I think, quite well aware that learning is quite often under prioritized due to people's workloads, the amount that people are expected to do during their working day. But the learning program is really about making sure that your learning environment is not an afterthought. Quite often we have to go to separate portals, different places, log into different tools to get our learning experience. And if you have to go and do that, it quite often drops off. You know, you see the link in your browser or whatever it is, but you don't actually go there. So we want to bring learning into the flow of the working world. We're going to bring it into Teams so that people don't have to switch their services, and we're going to have a look at what sort of tools are available within Viva Learning to be able to manage how people learn. We're going to look at the way that people now consume learning as well, because all of these things are changing, and we want to make sure that we change with it so that this information, this experience is there for the users. So we're going to cover it in two sort of general areas, really. The first piece, if you want to just jump on, please, Jack, is around the culture of learning. And I think you don't have to look back too many years to see people jumping into online, classroom-based training sessions, and you'd be out of the office for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it may be. And we've seen a real shift to the fact that people now want to learn in line with what they're doing. So I don't understand this piece, I'm going to go and learn that. I'm going to find the piece I need, and then I'll digest that and carry on with my working world. So the cultures of learning, we know that the content type is learning as well. The huge, detailed, in-depth, zero to hero stuff is becoming less and less as we focus more onto what I need to know at this point in time. You bring that together with the management strategies around how you assign training, what sort of training and personal growth and development that you are going to align with your users, and that is combined together is much more of a modern learning experience for the users. So they feel much more engaged, they feel that they can just go and get this information as and when they need it. So we're going to start with a demo, and the demo will be run just now, and off the back of that demo we then have things that we want to talk through, where this fits into the business, and we'll make it into a live conversation. So if you have questions, please do put them into the Q&A because we will address them straight away. Okay, over to you, Jack.
Okay, so for today's demo, I'm going to give you a very quick overview of Microsoft Viva Learning. We'll take a look at the Viva Learning app within Microsoft Teams, and then I'll show you just how easy it is to share content within Teams channels and chats. So right now, I'm in the Viva Learning app within Microsoft Teams, and as you can see at the top here, we're on the Home tab. So starting off on the Home tab, you get a carousel at the top, which shows you content which is currently trending throughout your organization. As we scroll down, we get some handy links to be able to look at things that you've recently viewed, things that you've bookmarked, and things that have been recommended to you from your peers. Now, there's a really handy little feature here, which when you first set up Viva Learning, you're asked to pick your interests. So I'll edit these, and I'm going to pick a couple of new ones, such as API development and accounting. I'm going to click Save. And what Viva Learning does there is it uses AI to look at the learning content, and it will start surfacing content based upon your interests. As we scroll down, we can see more content that's currently trending throughout the organization. And then when we come down to browse courses, you can see that some of the content that I clicked on earlier is already being surfaced based on those interests. We can click onto providers, and we can filter the courses that we want to see by provider. So it could be LinkedIn Learning, it could be Microsoft Learn content, it could be a third-party LMS system that your organization has integrated to Viva Learning, such as Skillsoft or Pluralsight, or a bunch of other ones. There's also the really handy feature of integrating it into your company's SharePoint. So you can create a content catalog full of training documents, such as documents, how-to guides, videos, and things like that, which then can be surfaced within Microlearning. You can also filter the browse courses section upon duration. So it might be just only have a quick bit of learning time and you want to view something that's under 10 minutes, 10 to 45 minutes, 45 minutes to 2 hours, or over 2 hours. We're then going to come and click onto the My Learning tab. So within the My Learning tab, you have bookmarked learning, which is stuff that you might have viewed earlier, didn't have the time to do, but bookmarked it for later. We've got recommended to use, so that's courses and content that have been recommended by your peers. We've got the recently viewed, so that's content that you have already started viewing and you can pick up where you left off. And then we've got completed courses. Now, a really handy little feature here on some content that you've been recommended or bookmarked or anything like that, you can come in here, you can add it to your calendar. So much like when you book focus time from within something like Microsoft Viva Insights, it searches through your calendar, finds an available slot, it looks at the sort of times that you might need to complete this type of training. I mean, this is a really long course, but it books out a 60-minute slot there so I can really get started on it. Click save, and it will have already added that to my calendar, meaning that I can really concentrate on that bit of learning. So I'm now going to click on to chat, and I'll show you how we can share some learning content directly within Teams chat. So in here, I've been chatting away with Miriam. As you can see, I've already shared some learning content with her, but I'm going to share some more with her. So I click on the ellipsis down here. I can click straight into Viva Learning. I can search for a course. There we go, the science of beer. Who doesn't want to learn more about that? We can click on the science of beer. It embeds it into this Teams chat. Give a personalized message and send that to her. Now, Miriam will have got an instant message notification with the Viva Learning content in there. You can click to it, opens it straight within Viva Learning and allows you to start digesting that learning course straight away. So We'll then click over into Teams. Now, this is a really, really useful feature here. So we're within the SOC, or the Security Operations Center team, filled with a bunch of IT professionals, all with a focus on IT security. So I know that they spend a lot of their working day within this team. They share files and information and use the wiki. Now, I think that we could publish a whole load of security learning content to them right within Teams, so it's there within their flow of work. So I'm going to click plus at the top. We're going to click onto the Viva Learning application. Opens up this box. In here, we're going to give the tab a name. Then we're going to search for the content that is relevant to this team. So we're going to look at IT security, and if we scroll down, we'll start to see some really useful stuff, such as the CompTIA Security Plus virtualization security course. We've got topic A, implement host security with CompTIA. Wireless access point security. As you can see, there's a whole load of content within there, and we just tick which courses we think we want to add in there. We click save. Then at the top of Teams here, we've got the IT SOC Viva Learning tab. So anyone within that team can see that it's automatically sent something in the post. They can click within it, takes them straight to that tab with a whole load of courses there. Now, if there's perhaps someone that I want to recommend this training course to specifically, I can come in here, search for their name. You can also do that to the distribution group. Give them a note, and I've said, you know, hey, can you try and complete this within the next couple of weeks? Therefore, I'm going to give it a due date, just over 2 weeks. Come down, click recommend. After it's recommended, as we showed earlier, we can come into the Viva Learning app, click onto the Manage tab, and there you go. It shows that I've recommended this course, the date I recommended it on, and the due date that we have set. If we click this little button, we can get some more insights on it. We can see who we've recommended it to and the status of that course. So if they'd already started learning, it would show as in progress. And then once they completed it, it would show as completed. So that's the whistle-stop tour of Viva Learning. As you can see, one of the key benefits here is a learning platform that's right within the flow of work, all within Microsoft Teams. I think there's some really interesting applications for this, especially with having specific learning content within Teams channels, meaning the info you need is right there within the area you need it. I think it could revolutionize things like the employee onboarding experience for starters. Having Viva Learning integrate to other areas of Viva is great as well, like the daily briefing email that Viva Insights sends you, suggesting you to book time out for learning within your personal Viva Insights is a nice touch. I'm hoping to see more and more of these integrations in the future.
Okay, great. So from here on in, it's pretty much open discussion. So Jack, Kritsia, and myself will just talk through some of the stuff and the pros and cons, and we will take your questions as we go through those as well. So there is a question that's already been asked, which is around the integration of Learn Plus. So Jack, Kritsia, the kind of tools that you can integrate into Viva. What are the ones? Where are we seeing the key movement, I guess?
So at the moment, we have 3 out-of-the-box integrations in Microsoft Viva with 3 different LMS systems, learning management systems. One of those is Cornerstone, one is Saba, and one is SAP SuccessFactors. These 3 were the ones that we provided at launch, but it's not an exhaustive list, and so we're working towards like adding others. But more importantly, we are working towards opening up our APIs. Now, as soon as the APIs will be publicly available, you will be able like really to connect and integrate content in the platform, regardless of the system that you're using. There are some customers and like in the private preview, they have started like to work on this already. And so as soon as this becomes available, the opportunities opens for all.
Okay, and so Learn Plus, which is in the question that we've been asked. Obviously, you're not going to be able to say exactly when it is, but do you have any idea on when the API timeline will be?
It's definitely going to be before the end of this year, so like it's coming soon. I cannot promise any specific timeline, but as soon as this is available, the integration time itself should actually be quite quick.
Great, good, okay. And so where we've got these additional learning platforms, be it Pluralsight or whatever else we have, if you're already paying for an LMS, I think one of the questions that we get quite a lot is, why am I going to pay to have learning in Teams? So what I mean, you guys in Microsoft, you use this anyway already, and I think Jack, obviously you've had some conversations on the, on the client front as well. What are we seeing with this?
So from my side, and then I'll hand over to you, Jack, of course.
Yeah.
From what we've seen so far, is just like the increase in engagement. So it's how easier it becomes to get access to content, to learning, trainings and everything. It also like empowers specific teams to do that. So imagine like if you're a new joiner, or even if you're just like shifting between one team to the other within your organization, characteristically would be like HR then mandates certain trainings, and maybe there are like some learning pathways depending on the career path that you are on. But Viva Learning allows you like to go even deeper, and for example, give you the opportunity to your manager to suggest you the best courses for you to really get up to speed with the job as soon as possible, or things that can help you in your career development plan to reach the goals that you're aiming for. And so all of a sudden it becomes a tool that is not only generic and behind the curtain, but something very concrete, very palatable that everybody can have access to, that becomes social. And that component of social learning is so critical. We've seen some studies that when we actually are in really like leveraging the learning, but then talking about it and interacting on it with other people, you absorb much more of the content and it becomes way more effective. So I think these would be for me like the two key motives, like to really consider an integration.
Mm. And Jack?
Yeah, like you said, Pete, we get asked quite a lot, don't we? Well, I'm already paying for an LMS, and they're not really cheap either. You can pay quite a lot of money for it, depending on the size of your organisation. But I think one thing you need to look at is how much are you actually using that LMS that you're paying for? Because quite often you pay for it, you use it as almost like a compliance tool, like we need people to do some health and safety training, and you tick a few boxes here, but then people quite often, they'll join a company, they'll do those maybe once a year, they'll have to do some refreshers on it, and that's all they use it for. But there's so much more content in these systems that would be really beneficial for people to use. So it's actually upping the sort of usage of your LMS by having it in Teams and by having that content shared out and creating it like a community-led learning thing. I think, like Kritsia said, using it as a social thing where people are like, oh, hey, have you seen this? I watched this really good video. More and more people are going to start using it, and you drive, in a way, you're then driving productivity, because I think learning, instead of being a compliance tool, should really be more of a productivity tool to help your business grow. You're going to get better engagement, better productivity and better performance, better staff retention. So all of these things come as part of people learning more. So I think that's a key thing to look at.
And I think the peer learning piece, the recommendation from colleague to colleague for us is super important. We are regularly sort of taking on new challenges, trying to sort new problems. And actually what you might do is come across a piece of software and you go, actually, this is really useful, this is really good. So you'll take it to the rest of the people who work within that field, within your organization. So you are sharing relevant training and educational pieces, I think, rather than just generic. So it does become much more targeted. And I think, there's something about going onto an LMS and tracking down a training topic versus having something recommended to you by a peer or by the organization, say, actually this is where you need to be looking. So I think that's interesting. Just picking up on what you said about LMS platforms potentially becoming sort of or not being as heavily used as they should be. The change in having learning outside of teams to having learning inside of teams, what's the difference we're seeing as far as those deployments that we've done, or Kritzy again, internally at Microsoft? What's the impact on the user side? Because this is really all about user experience, right?
It definitely is. We actually can talk from experience because we've just rolled it out to the entire company. And so the one day we just received like this notification that was like advising you, hey, do you have due courses? Check out what's available in Viva Learning. And so all of a sudden it becomes integrated in your working day. You don't have to, it's not an afterthought. It's not like somewhere else where you don't have access to. It's right there in front of you. And then what I really like about it is that apart from, again, like the compulsory training, then you get there and you have the chance to really understand that shape the way you want to learn. Let's say that I have just 30 minutes available today, or maybe like no more than 45. I am able also to choose the course based on the length of it and understanding like how that fits with my broader schedule. So this again helps me making that development plan much more real, achieve my goals. And from a company perspective, that means that as employees, we're always skilled and that we can always like start and perform on different duties and in different roles at the best that we can. So the investment is positive on both sides. For me as an employee, I'm delighted because I feel invested in, and so I have access to things that are interesting. I have the ability to access it within with ease and within teams. And from the company perspective, well, they are having us very much even more into the learning culture. So like we're becoming even more an asset in general for the company itself.
Okay, so that's a very interesting point actually, because having management buy into this, I think, is super important, and we're learning that more and more, that the executive sponsors and the change in the culture, etc. Having the data to see how people are progressing and stuff, I guess, is one thing. But what is the sort of the cultural view, I guess, of the management? Because when you want to set a new kind of culture, you've got to set it from that management level and feed it down, right?
Oh,
is that something that's being brought into, or?
No, absolutely. I think one thing that we have witnessed in the past couple of years, especially since we started working remotely, but even more so now, like that it's a hybrid world, the role of managers is key. Like they have like so much on their shoulders, and they even like this part of the process, we need the buy-in from managers in order to be successful. So there needs to be like a lead by example, supporting the team, understanding what's like the culture that we want to transmit and how to best achieve that. So again, what we're talking about is just enabling that kind of culture. So Viva Learning ultimately is a tool, it's a mean to an end. And managers are really like the key figures that can help us be successful in that adoption motion and in that deployment, because then all of a sudden they are the ones that can inspire the rest of the team, that can support, for example, like sharing like the right content and the right things with the rest of the people. And that becomes like so critical, especially if I am looking up to my manager in order like for me to grow. So, you know, this is like a key enabler for us. When we think about like a learning strategy, there's definitely an HR component, but key is also like, what do we think in general? Like, what is the culture that we want to transmit? What is the manager buy-in? That this is critical.
And what about so that's the top-down piece, and maybe I'll throw this one at you, Jack, because Chris is talking a lot, because I keep throwing questions at her. So that's the top-down piece. What's the impact, do you think, culturally on that peer-to-peer recommendation and learning?
Yeah, so almost the bottom-up approach. So you can encourage your staff to then have that. I think you need to do both, really. So have that top-down approach, but also have a bottom-up approach where, you know, it doesn't matter what level you are, if you're a manager or not. If you find a great bit of learning content, or you were in a team that had some learning within it that was really useful, and you think, hold on a sec, I work with another team in the business over here that would really benefit from that, so I'm just going to go and share it to them straight away, or say, here, we can just add it to your team's channel here and share it within there. I think that's really, really powerful, and it shows that the company is encouraging everyone to learn. I think we've seen with, you know, there's this massive labour shortage, especially in IT, that people are talking about. So hiring people and just telling them to get on with them isn't enough. You need to have a culture where everyone's trying to get better and everyone's trying to learn more and upskill, because you want to retain your staff. And I think having a culture of sharing content between people, and it just shows that you all care about each other and want each other to do well. And I think that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the conversations I've had recently about investing in people and you know, the kind of way you want to build and develop people, because when you're in a market, and especially, you know, within the IT market like we are at the moment, or people trying to take on board IT resources, you could quite easily go out and end up spending quite a chunk of money bringing those skills in. And one thing you do is you bring the skills in, the people who are already there don't get developed. You know, and really, by, I think, sort of changing the way that we think about training and get away from these big training courses that we used to do, you know, X number of years ago, you are providing this constant sort of drip feed and investing in the team that you've already got and helping them grow on that. So I think I'm a sort of a fairly firm believer of, I think it was Richard Branson who said, train your staff well enough that they can leave, and treat them well enough so that they don't want to. And I think there's not a lot to be said for that. But also I think I've got a bit of a change management background, and I like this kind of approach of if you're going to play that sort of game, you want to make sure that cultural piece, that what's in it for me, you're building that into just the entire way that you deal with you deal with learning within your organization. So I'm not saying it can kill off the requirement to go and get additional staff, but I think there's definitely a message in there about we appreciate what you're doing. One thing you did, and it's a slight sort of change in tack, one thing you did mention in your demo, Jack, was how Viva Learning fits in with other parts of Viva. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned there one thing I think is really useful is having those digest emails you get from Viva Insights, and it tells you book out focus time, book this. It will now suggest that you book out time for learning, and that's just one thing that's integrated there. Hopefully, we'll see more and more integrations across all of the Viva modules. But if you expand it for something like Viva Insights, could look at perhaps teams that burning out, or and look at the reasons of why this is happening. Automatically, you might be able to send learning content to those teams or to the manager of that team and say, hold on, you've got a bit of a burnout problem here. Perhaps you could watch this motivational video on how to better manage your time, or to book out time to learn this. And so integrating those different parts of Viva, I think, could be really, really powerful.
Okay. So we're light on questions, but I think you know, the other thing that would be really sort of good to look at is where we've got the management information that, you know, the managers have access to. Any thoughts on the kind of information you get presented with, and whether or not that needs to be managed in a particular way from by the managers or who's assigning it? Because, you know, you can get quite heavy-handed with things, and you should be doing, or you can encourage people to learn. Any thoughts around how the management data helps on that side?
I think it depends on the learning and the type of learning, doesn't it? So some learning is like, you know, like you say, get heavy-handed and this has to be done, or, you know, you're a new starter, you have to tick these boxes, these bits have to be done. But then there's sort of the extra part, which is, this would be, you know, you want to encourage people to do it rather than heavy-handedly say, I want you to do this and I want it done by next week. I think you're better off saying, you know, if you were to do this, think where your career path could go, and show people that if by doing that and having learning ingrained within your day-to-day work culture, that this is how you progress and how you become more, you get more meaning and value out of your role, and you're more likely to then flourish and go on to greater things.
Okay, and then I guess really sort of probably one last, almost last topic. It's gone straight out of my head. That's brilliant. I give in. No,
One
I
thing.
don't know where I was going with that. Oh, demo, trials. That's what I was going to ask about. You know, if you are looking at Viva, what can you do in the way of setting up trials, testing it out?
Yeah, so I can take this one, and Jen, Jake, of course, please follow up on this. First of all, we wanted to make some of these incredible features available to all. So like if you already go right now in your Teams App Center and you look for Viva Learning, you should be able to just spin up the freemium version of it. And so it will give you some of the basic capabilities, but you will have a sense of the look and feel, what could really bring it to your organization, and start playing around the features and the capabilities for really trying the real experience. So for example, leveraging that, being able to request or to suggest courses specifically to people, or integrating content from your LMS, and anything that is a little bit more advanced. We have specific trial that you can set up, and you can request directly from the website, but you can also then work with partners in order to get up to speed. And so Jack, on that one, I'll just give it over to you.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got a set of different pilot offerings that we can do, so to help you set up Viva Learning along with, say, Viva Connections or another module of Viva, and we'll work with you and do a pilot group of people and say, look, let's get this integrated, let's hook your LMS system up, maybe create a little staff onboarding area for you within Teams with a load of content in it. So approaching it that way is a really good way of doing it, I think.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much. We haven't got any other questions in. You've been a very quiet group of people compared to the what was the one we did last time?
Insights, wasn't it? Yeah.
Insights, that was it. Yeah. Yes. But I mean, obviously, if you have questions after this has finished, then you know, please do just get in contact and let us know. So, I mean, really, in summary, we have, through Viva Learning, we have really, I guess, a bit of a sort of taking your LMS platform and taking it up to the next level. You know, there's a lot of things here that you can do through Viva that I think just bring it right into the line of sight of your users. And if it's part of their daily routine, then learning will become part of that daily routine. It is, says the next one, about nurturing the staff that we have. I think one of the real game changers on it is the community-led learning, so the ability to share with your peers and learn together. And I think that is where we are starting to see the change in learning, and really shifting into people working together and sharing their ideas and doing training courses together, rather than the way that we used to do it. So We do have a question. Are you able to share the staff onboarding content? Yes, I don't see why not. I think that's probably just we get in contact with us and we'll set up a conversation with Jack. It's probably the easiest way to answer that one. But yeah, of course we can help with that kind of conversation. So I hope this has been useful to you. I think the sort of the ability to just talk these things through is super important, because it's all very well, you know, just gushing out some information about, yes, this is great, but you know, even addressing things like, you know, if I'm paying for one platform, why am I going to put it onto, you know, onto something like Viva? Answering those kind of questions is quite important. But I think, you know, one of the things that Jack and I are big fans of is, you know, if you're looking at this, try it. You know, that's the simple thing. Pop it in, try it, get a group of people, get it going, and then see, you know, where you want to take it from there on in. On the screen now, there are a number of ways for you to get in touch with us. We've also got, as Jack referenced, the pilot offerings, which you can look at if you want. But we're really here to help. You know, it's still relatively new in the marketplace. We've got some pretty good experience of it, and really, thank you very much to both Jack. Obviously, I get to see his lovely face every day. But more so to Kritzia for joining us and sharing some of the stuff that's going on within Microsoft as an organization rather than from a marketing perspective. So thank you very much. We have another webinar coming up, which is on topics next, I believe. And I believe the information that will be published any day now, if it's not already out there. 28th of June, there we go, I've just been told 28th of June. So thank you very much to both of you, and thank you very much to everyone else behind the scenes. And I hope it was of use. Thank you very much.